On a quiet night in February 1994, country singer Trace Adkins found himself standing in the middle of an argument that would change his life forever. Just moments later, a single gunshot echoed through the house. The bullet entered beneath his left arm, traveled through his chest, pierced both lungs, passed through his heart, and exited beneath his right arm. Doctors would later describe it as a fatal wound. Yet somehow Trace Adkins survived. More than 30 years later, he is finally sharing what really happened that night and why he never blamed the woman who pulled the trigger. This is not just the story of a shooting. It is a story of survival, forgiveness, and one of the most unbelievable escapes in country music history. In early 1994, Trace Adkins was still years away from becoming one of country music's biggest stars. He was married to his second wife, Julie Curtis. Their relationship had reached a breaking point. The couple had separated, but emotions remained intense. According to Adkins, the argument began inside their home and quickly spiraled out of control. What started as another heated disagreement soon became something neither of them could have imagined. During a recent appearance on Theo Von's podcast, Adkins explained that Julie wanted him to leave the house. He refused. The argument became more emotional. Then she picked up a handgun. Many people faced with a weapon would instinctively run. Trace Adkins did the opposite. He later explained that when she pointed the gun at him, he stepped toward her instead of away. He reached out and asked her to hand him the gun. It was a decision made in only a split second. As he reached for the weapon, the gun fired. The explosion happened from only a few feet away. The bullet entered his body with devastating force. For a brief moment, neither of them fully understood what had just happened. Adkins later recalled that he did not immediately feel pain. Instead, everything seemed strangely quiet. His body had gone into shock. He remembered standing up from the floor, taking a few steps, then sitting back down. Only later would he learn how close he had come to dying. The bullet had passed through some of the most vital organs in his body. It was a wound that should have ended his life within minutes. As emergency responders rushed him to the hospital, every second became a fight between life and death. Doctors prepared for one of the most difficult surgeries of their careers. Few believed anyone could survive injuries like these. Yet against every expectation, Trace Adkins was still alive. What happened inside the operating room would leave even experienced surgeons amazed. When Trace Adkins arrived at the hospital, doctors immediately understood the severity of his injuries. The bullet had entered beneath his left arm and traveled completely across his chest. It pierced both lungs. It passed directly through his heart. Then it exited beneath his right arm. Most victims with injuries like these never reach an operating room alive. For the medical team, every second mattered. The first challenge was keeping enough oxygen flowing through his damaged lungs. The second was controlling the bleeding inside his chest. His heart had suffered a direct gunshot wound. Any delay could have been fatal. Years later, Adkins recalled what one of his doctors told him after the surgery. The surgeon believed there was only one reason he survived. The bullet never slowed down. Because the gun was fired from extremely close range, the bullet was still traveling at nearly full muzzle velocity. Instead of tumbling or expanding inside his body, it cut a narrow path straight through his chest before exiting. That tiny difference may have saved his life. Had the bullet expanded or changed direction, the damage would have been far greater. The surgeons repaired the injuries to his heart and lungs during a long and delicate operation. Adkins later described the procedure in simple terms. He said the doctors had to open his chest and rebuild the damaged organs piece by piece. The real pain did not come when he was shot. It came afterward. During his interview, Adkins explained that he remembered almost no pain at the moment of the shooting because his body had gone into shock. As the days passed and the anesthesia wore off, the pain became overwhelming. Breathing was difficult. Every movement reminded him how close he had come to death. Recovery was slow. Healing from injuries to both lungs and the heart required months of physical rehabilitation. Even simple activities became exhausting. Speaking, walking, and sleeping all required patience. The emotional recovery was just as difficult. Many survivors of violent trauma struggle with fear, anger, or resentment. Trace Adkins faced another difficult decision. He had to decide what should happen to the woman who had pulled the trigger. Many people expected criminal charges. Given the seriousness of the shooting, most believed prosecutors would pursue the case aggressively. But Trace Adkins surprised everyone. Instead of demanding punishment, he chose a very different path. His decision would become one of the most remarkable parts of this entire story. Why would a man who had been shot through the heart refuse to seek revenge? The answer reveals as much about Trace Adkins as the shooting itself. For many people, surviving a shooting would only be the beginning of a long legal battle. Most victims would demand justice. Some would seek revenge. Trace Adkins chose neither. He made the decision not to press charges against Julie Curtis. Even today, that decision surprises many people who hear his story for the first time. When asked recently whether he believed Julie had intended to kill him, Adkins gave an unexpected answer. He said he did not think she truly understood what would happen when she pulled the trigger. He explained that although she owned the handgun, he had never seen her practice with it. He had never watched her fire it. In contrast, Adkins had spent years around firearms. He owned several guns and regularly used them. Because of that experience, he believed Julie did not fully appreciate how powerful the weapon was. He later said he believed she thought the gun was almost like a toy. It was a heartbreaking statement, not because it excused what happened, but because it suggested that one impulsive decision changed both of their lives forever. His choice not to pursue criminal charges was deeply personal. It was not about pretending the shooting never happened. It was about refusing to let anger control the rest of his life. The marriage, however, could not survive the tragedy. Later that year, Trace Adkins and Julie Curtis officially divorced. It marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. The years that followed were not easy. Long before becoming one of country music's biggest stars, Adkins faced other personal struggles as well. He battled serious alcohol addiction. He entered rehabilitation more than once. He openly admitted that addiction nearly destroyed both his career and his family life. Instead of hiding those experiences, he eventually spoke about them publicly. His honesty earned respect from many fans who had faced similar battles. At the same time, his music career finally began to take off. In 1996, he released his debut album, Dreamin' Out Loud. The album introduced his deep, unmistakable voice to country music audiences across America. Over the following decades, he recorded numerous hit songs, including Every Light in the House, You're Gonna Miss This, Honky Tonk, Badonkadonk, and Ladies Love Country Boys. His success went far beyond music. He appeared in films and television shows. He became known for supporting military veterans and charitable causes. To many fans, Trace Adkins represented resilience, a man who had survived more than most people could imagine. But despite his success, the shooting remained one of the defining moments of his life. For more than 3 decades, he rarely described the details publicly. Only recently did he decide to tell the story in his own words. His account reminded people that survival is not always about physical strength. Sometimes it is about choosing forgiveness over bitterness. Sometimes it is about refusing to become defined by the worst day of your life. Today, Trace Adkins has built a very different life from the one he had in 1994. Yet every time he speaks about that night, one question still remains. How did a man who should not have survived manage to turn one of the darkest moments imaginable into a story of hope, redemption, and gratitude? More than 30 years have passed since the night Trace Adkins nearly lost his life. The scars remain. So do the memories. But instead of allowing that moment to define him, he chose to build a new future. In recent interviews, Adkins has spoken calmly about the shooting. There is no anger in his voice, no desire to reopen old wounds. Instead, he reflects on the experience as one of the many events that shaped the person he is today. His willingness to forgive continues to surprise people. Many believe forgiveness after such a violent act is impossible. Adkins has never suggested that what happened was acceptable. Rather, he believes carrying hatred for decades would have been another kind of prison. That perspective has become one of the most remarkable parts of his story. Life eventually moved forward. After the end of his marriage to Julie Curtis, Adkins continued building his career. His deep voice and traditional country style earned him millions of fans around the world. He released successful albums, toured extensively, appeared in television shows and films, and became one of the most recognizable figures in modern country music. In 2019, he married Canadian actress Victoria Pratt. The ceremony was officiated by fellow country star Blake Shelton. Friends say the couple shares a strong and supportive relationship. During a recent interview, Adkins proudly spoke about his wife becoming an American citizen. He said she is just as proud to be an American as he is. It was another reminder that his life today looks very different from the one he lived in 1994. His newest single, American Made, celebrates the country's upcoming 250th anniversary and reflects his appreciation for the opportunities he believes America has given him. For fans, the song represents more than patriotism. It reflects the gratitude of someone who knows how close he came to losing everything. Looking back, the shooting could easily have ended his story before his greatest achievements ever happened. There would have been no hit records, no successful tours, no television appearances, no new marriage, no chance to inspire millions of people through his music and his resilience. Instead, one extraordinary medical miracle gave him a second chance. Doctors saved his life. Time healed many of his wounds, and forgiveness allowed him to move forward. His story is also a reminder of how quickly emotions can become irreversible. One argument: one impulsive decision, one pull of a trigger. In just a few seconds, multiple lives were changed forever. Fortunately, this story did not end with another tragedy. It became a story of survival, of recovery, and of choosing hope instead of bitterness. Today, Trace Adkins is remembered not only for his unmistakable voice, but also for surviving one of the most extraordinary incidents in country music history. A bullet passed through his heart and both lungs. Medical experts believed he should not have survived, yet he walked away with something even more powerful than survival. He walked away with a new perspective on life. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson from his story. Sometimes the strongest people are not those who escape tragedy. They are the ones who refuse to let tragedy define the rest of their lives. And more than 30 years later, Trace Adkins continues to prove exactly that.